on here today to have a look at wave-particle duality with you. So how does this affect you and me? Well, essentially it affects you and me because when we're feeling that we're trapped in any version of our reality or on a timeline, it really helps to be able to look at things in a more expansive way, to free ourselves, if you like, from the conceived constrictions of life and what it's doing, how it's operating. So this addresses all sorts of issues that we may have with our sense of place and our sense of purpose, our state, if you like, in which we find ourselves at any given point. So if you're looking at things from a depressive point of view, or from any kind of challenge, any challenge to our mental state is the result of our perspective on the way things are. So knowing about wave-particle duality may well help to free some of those perceptions and set you off on a slightly different track in terms of the way you feel. This is a representation of the waves that are occurring all the time. The waveform of our reality is something that science has gone into a lot of detail and depth about. So when you look up wave-particle duality in your search engine, you're going to find a lot of information that some of it will make sense and some of it may not make sense. But essentially what you'll get from that is an understanding of what science says about how particles form. And what they're saying is that the wave that everything exists on is continuously collapsing into what's known as the wave packet, although the wave packet itself is collapsing and producing particle reality. That's what this diagram here represents. It represents the waves that are continuing, and I've done them in different colours because remember we've got this past-future time wave convergence going on, where you've got waves from the future and the past converging to meet the present point in time. So that present point in time is the only point where the particle collapse can happen. That's what makes all this stuff solid. It's what makes me solid and you solid, is being a particle, not being a wave. This is a continuous process. So every time this happens, this wave form collapses the wave packet into a particle, you have an anatomic structure. This is a representation of an atom in a very simplistic way. So you've got the nucleus at the centre, you've got the proton and the neutron there in the middle, they're the nucleus components. And around them is the electron shell valence. So these are where the electrons are placed around the nucleus of the atom. And they are in shells, which I've represented here as little fuzzy dots, because you never know where an electron is. If you know where it is, you don't know how fast it's going, and if you know how fast it's travelling, you don't know where it is. But seeing an electron in the first place is really difficult. So this construct of the atom that I've represented here is as best as can be got, given the science that we have at the moment. So in these electron shells, or these belts of electrons, you've got a continuous fuzz going on. These electrons are moving up and down the shells from ground state, which is close to the nucleus, away to higher states where they're more likely to just shear off and go and become part of another atom somewhere else. And of course the other atoms are doing the same thing. So at the top level of this shell structure, you've got an exchange of electrons going on. And this all happens completely beyond our line of sight, of course. This is all right down at the baseline level of the quantum world. That's where this is going on. If I take this little nucleus and I then blow it up and expand it macroscopically, then you've got the quark field. Expanding microscopically, I meant. You know what I mean. These nucleus particles, the proton and the neutron, are comprised of quarks. So these are the quarks. They're all bound together very strongly by the strong force, which is carried by these gluons, which I've represented in these little squiggly lines. And they're changing all the time from one flavour to another. We've got, remember, up and down quarks and then anti-quarks. So there's anti-up and anti-down, and then there's strange and charmed, and there's even beauty and truth. And they're all sifting around in this quark plasmic soup, the quark field. So that's the construct of the centre of the atom. As this is flowing, this quark field, morphing from one thing to another, remembering this wave-particle duality, that most of the time it's a wave, except when the particle is created by collapse of the wave packet. You've got these huge differences in the size of the quarks that are existing in that field. And these huge size differences between the up and down quarks, which are fairly small, right up to the gargantuan truth quark, which I don't even have space for on the paper to represent how much bigger the truth quark is compared to the little up and down quarks. But this change in mass, this differentiation in energy, is happening all the time. So every slice of time that you experience is a unique slice of time. All the components that make you up are different every time this wave packet collapses and becomes a particle. You're a different set of particles. So there's no surprise then that you can change from one mood to another in a flash. You can be down and crying into your coffee one minute, and then the phone rings, and within a few seconds you can be feeling like a different person. This is why. Because your particle reality is then collapsing into a different time frame. You're on a different waveform than you were when you were crying over the cup of coffee. You change your waveform, your position on the waveform all the time. And whenever your particle reality comes into being, that's when the wave packet has collapsed and become a particle. So as you can see, just knowing this, knowing the basic construct of how this works, is really important and liberating in a way, because it doesn't make you really feel deep down that every moment in time is different to every other moment in time, literally. You can break that down to the smallest commonest denominator of the Planck scale. It's still unique, still a unique packet of time that you're existing in. The fact that we can't perceive the waves in anything other than in memory of what's gone before, and foresight, or even premonition, if you're that way inclined, as to what's coming next, still that doesn't stop the fact that the only point in time that we have to exist in is the present. And whatever you do with that present, how you change that present, is as much a matter of the influences around you as it is of your own choice. Your decision-making process is part of this huge fluxing field that's going on, because everybody else's quarks and electrons and atomic structure, their fields are all interplaying with ours. Hence the whole concept of oneness and that kind of arena. So there you have it in a nutshell. This is wave-particle duality, as I've described it here. As usual, my advice is to go and explore more. Just dig deep. Go and explore the articles, the scientific papers, and some of the esoteric papers maybe on what all this quantum flux is doing, how it applies to us, and what we can do with it. There's a lot out there, and there's an awful lot that we don't know yet. So everything that you do is contributing potentially to the discussion of what's going on. So I hope you bring your thoughts back to quantumology. Come and join the group on Facebook. Check out the websites. Buy the book if you want to. And let's see where this goes. Okay, so have fun on your waveform. Enjoy the ride. And I'll see you next time. Have fun with quantum. Don't forget. Bye.